All right, let's dive into the exciting world of import and export. Today, we're focusing on the hides, skins, and the leather products industry.
And specifically, we're going to help you get ready for an interview for an import-export specialist role.
Exactly. We're going to use some super helpful resources from RoleCatcher to make sure you really stand out.
They've got this awesome career guide and interview guide.
Let's jump right into it. What makes this role so unique?
It's truly global. You're connecting suppliers and buyers across continents, ensuring everything complies with those sometimes tricky customs regulations.
So you're basically keeping this whole valuable industry running smoothly.
Pretty much, you're not just dealing with paperwork, you're at the heart of a global operation.
Okay, so let's say you're in the hot seat facing the interviewers and they hit you with this. Walk me through your experience in the import-export industry. What if you don't have tons of direct experience?
That's where those transferable skills come in. Think about it. Have you managed complex projects before?
Or coordinated with different teams?
Exactly. Or maybe you've dealt with a lot of detailed documentation. Those are all super valuable in import-export.
It's not just about having the exact same job title.
Right. And the RoleCatcher Career Guide even mentions that even entry-level roles can involve some pretty cool stuff like international travel
Wow, that's amazing.
and working with all kinds of different cultures.
But they also really stress that you need to know your stuff when it comes to import-export procedures and all that documentation.
Absolutely. It's important to highlight those transferable skills. For example, you could say, while my experience is in your field, I've developed strong organizational skills, attention to detail, and I'm great at managing complex processes. And those are all directly related to import-export, right?
That's a perfect way to frame it. Now, RoleCatcher has this really cool AI tool that can actually help you tailor your response even more for you.
It's incredible. It analyzes the job description and then suggests how you can emphasize the most relevant skills for that specific role.
So it's like having a personal coach who knows exactly what the interviewers are looking for.
Exactly. It gives you that extra edge.
Okay, let's imagine they ask you, how do you stay updated with all the changes in import-export regulations? Things are constantly evolving in this field, so how do you prove you're on top of it?
Show them you're a lifelong learner. Talk about the specific resources you use, like trade publications, maybe the Journal of Commerce or Global Trade Magazine.
Following government agencies on social media is a good one too, right?
Yeah, like U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Attending industry events is a big one.
Exactly.
And the career guide actually says that staying updated is absolutely critical for success in this role.
Which makes total sense. Things are always changing.
So you're not just passively reading stuff, you're out there actively seeking knowledge and staying ahead of the game.
Precisely. And they might even ask a follow-up, like, can you give me an example of a recent regulation change you had to adapt to? That gives you a chance to really show off your knowledge.
Great point. Now, what if they throw you a curveball, like imagine a shipment of hides gets delayed? What do you do? That really tests your problem-solving skills.
It does. They want to see how you handle real-world challenges, not just textbook answers. The interview guide suggests using the STAR method: situation, task, action, and result.
So you lay out the situation, explain the task at hand, describe what actions you took, and then highlight the positive results.
Exactly. It's all about showing you can stay calm, think critically, and find solutions.
And don't forget those soft skills.
Like what?
Things like communication, negotiation, diplomacy. Those are super important in import-export.
Absolutely. And remember, RoleCatcher has that AI feedback feature that can analyze your practice answers and give you personalized suggestions.
It's like having a virtual mock interview. So cool.
Exactly. It helps you refine your delivery and make a really strong impression.
All right, next question. Let's say they ask, how do you ensure compliance with all those international trade regulations when importing hides, skins, and leather products? That feels like a minefield of acronyms and legal jargon.
Yeah, but you want to show a deep understanding without overwhelming them, right?
Right.
You could mention specific regulations, like those outlined by CITES. That's the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, which is a big deal for exotic leathers.
Ah, so you're showing them you understand the specific regulations that impact this industry.
Exactly. You could even mention resources like the World Trade Organization's website or even the International Chamber of Commerce's Incoterms rule.
Oh, yeah, those are the guidelines for international trade, right?
United States.
So you're showing you're proactive about compliance.
Right, you're on top of it.
And that ties back to continuous learning, which we talked about earlier.
It's all connected.
Now, what if they ask, can you give me an example of a time you had to address a compliance issue? What kind of story would really impress them?
This is where you can really show off those problem-solving skills.
Okay.
Let's say you found a discrepancy in the documents for a leather goods shipment, something that could have caused a big customs delay.
Oh, no.
You explain how you reviewed everything carefully, found that error, and worked with everyone involved to fix it before it became a major problem.
Wow, that's impressive.
It shows you're proactive and can mitigate those potential risks.
And the career guide actually says that import-export specialists are crucial for ensuring that flow of goods across borders goes smoothly.
Exactly. A compliance issue can really mess things up.
Absolutely. Now, let's switch gears to negotiation skills. What if they ask, how do you negotiate with suppliers to get good prices for hides and skins? How do you even approach that?
You need that balance of assertiveness and diplomacy.
Right, you want the best deal for your company, but don't want to burn any bridges.
Exactly. The interview guide suggests you highlight your research skills, your understanding of market trends,
Oh yeah, knowing the market is super important.
and your ability to connect with people, find solutions that work for everyone.
So you could say something like, before negotiating, I do my homework. I look at market prices for the specific hides or skins we need. I consider things like quality, availability, lead times.
To make sure you're getting the best value.
Right. And then during the negotiation, I focus on building a relationship with the supplier, understanding their perspective, and finding that win-win.
Exactly. It's all about collaboration.
And the career guide actually mentions that this industry, hides, skins, leather products, they're all susceptible to price changes for those raw materials.
Absolutely.
So showing you understand market dynamics and can adapt your negotiation strategy is key.
It's crucial.
So they might even follow up with, tell me about a time you had to negotiate a really tough deal. That's your chance to shine.
Absolutely. Choose a situation where you had to overcome obstacles, get creative, and ultimately close a deal that was good for your company. Maybe a supplier was tough on pricing. You explain how you used your market knowledge, built rapport, and found a compromise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it shows you can think strategically, build those relationships, and get those goals. Now, before we move on, I want to mention something really cool that RoleCatcher offers.
You mean the AI feedback feature? Tell me more.
Yes. Imagine practicing that tough negotiation question and then having RoleCatcher's AI analyze it.
Amazing.
Gives you feedback on your clarity, conciseness, and even suggests improvements.
Like having a virtual mock interview with a super smart coach in the import-export world.
Exactly. It can even tailor suggestions to the specific company or job you're after.
That's incredible.
So not only are we giving you knowledge and strategies, but RoleCatcher gives you the tools to really refine your delivery and impress those interviewers.
It's all about empowering you to be your best and shine in that interview.
Okay, let's tackle another question that they love to ask. How do you manage risk in your import-export operations, especially in the hide, skins, and leather products industry? This is where you show you understand those potential challenges and can mitigate them, right?
Absolutely. This industry has unique risks, fluctuating prices for raw materials, quality control issues, all those environmental and ethical regulations.
So many factors.
The interview guide recommends showcasing your understanding of these specific risks and how you create and implement strategies to minimize their impact.
So you could talk about diversifying your supplier base, having solid quality control procedures at every step.
Right, and staying up to date on those evolving regulations.
And the career guide mentions that this industry is susceptible to things like geopolitical risks and trade disputes.
Absolutely.
So being aware of those broader factors is a definite plus.
It shows you're thinking big picture. And don't forget to emphasize communication. Risk management means keeping everyone informed and working together. You might want to mention your experience with risk assessment frameworks, doing due diligence on suppliers, or having those contingency plans.
So it's about being proactive and having a plan.
Right, not just waiting for problems to happen.
Now, they might follow up with something like, describe a time you had to manage a significant risk in your import-export work. This is your moment to shine.
It is. Choose a situation that highlights your ability to problem solve in complex scenarios. Maybe a supplier had quality issues. You explain how you assessed the situation, got to the root of the problem, and worked with the supplier to fix it.
It's all about collaboration, right?
Exactly, and it shows you're committed to quality and minimizing those supply chain disruptions.
Before we move on, let's touch on those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher here.
They're so cool, right?
Seriously, they give you a personalized advantage. It's not just about knowing what to say, but how to say it to really impress those interviewers.
And that's where the AI feedback feature shines. It's like a virtual coach who can analyze your interview responses and give you tailored suggestions.
Wait, so you practice answering these tough questions, and the AI tells you how to improve your delivery, then
Exactly.
clarify your points and highlight your skills.
Precisely. It's all about putting your best foot forward and making a strong impression. Welcome back to our deep dive, where we're helping you prep for that import-export specialist interview in the hides, skins, and leather products world.
We've got more great insights from RoleCatcher's career and interview guides.
Let's imagine the interviewer asks, "What are your salary expectations?" Now, that can feel a little awkward sometimes.
It's that money talk, but it's important.
It is. The interview guide says to do your research first.
Yeah, know your worth.
Websites like Glassdoor or Salary.com can give you an idea of what similar roles are paying in your area.
The career guide also emphasizes that your salary should reflect your expertise. Those import-export specialists who really know those international trade regulations inside and out, and who've managed those complex logistics, they can definitely ask for more.
They've got the experience to back it up.
So when you tell them your salary range, be ready to explain why you deserve it.
Exactly. Highlight your skills and accomplishments. You could say something like, based on my research and experience, and mention your relevant skills and projects, I'm looking for a salary between your desired range.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, shifting gears a bit, attention to detail. Huge in any job, but especially in import to export, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine they ask, how do you ensure accuracy in all your documentation and paperwork? Seems basic, but super important.
It is. One little error can have big consequences in import-export.
The interview guide stresses that being super detail-oriented is key.
It can help avoid all those costly delays, customs issues, even legal problems. Nobody wants that.
So how do you show the interviewer that you're a detailed person?
Explain the systems and processes you use. Maybe you double-check everything, use checklists, or rely on software to automate some tasks.
That's smart. And the career guide mentions that import-export specialists often use those fancy software programs to manage everything: documentation, shipment tracking, compliance.
Being comfortable with those tools is a definite advantage.
So you could say something like, I know accuracy is super important. I'm meticulous in my work, always double-checking, and I'm comfortable using industry-standard software. Like, mention this specific software to help me stay organized and accurate.
It shows them you're serious about precision.
And then they might ask, tell me about a time you caught an error that could have been a disaster. That's a perfect chance to showcase your attention to detail.
Pick a situation that shows how you spotted and fixed a mistake before it became a huge issue. Maybe you noticed a discrepancy on a shipping document that could have sent a shipment to the wrong place. You explain how you spotted it, took steps to fix it, and saved the day.
That's amazing. That's going above and beyond.
And the career guide highlights that import-export specialists are crucial for managing risk.
Preventing those supply chain disruptions.
Exactly. They keep things running smoothly. Okay, moving on, problem solving. That's huge in this role.
Absolutely. What if they ask, describe a time you faced a tough situation in import-export and how you handled it?
They're looking for those critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills.
Because let's be honest, this industry can be unpredictable, right? Unexpected delays, quality control issues, regulations changing all the time.
It's a fast-paced world, and the interview guide recommends using that STAR method, again, situation, task, action, result, to structure your answer.
Okay, so you set the scene, describe the challenge, explain what you did, and highlight those positive outcomes.
Exactly. For example, imagine a sudden change in import regulations that could delay a leather goods shipment.
Oh, no.
You explain how you researched those new regulations, figured out the necessary adjustments, communicated with the authorities, and found a solution to keep that shipment on track.
You're like a superhero, saving the day.
Keeping those hides, skins, and leather goods moving. And speaking of superheroes, let's talk about those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher again.
Love those tools. Seriously, they can give you such an edge.
That AI feedback tool is incredible. Imagine you're practicing that problem-solving question we just talked about. You can actually have RoleCatcher's AI analyze your answer. It'll give you feedback on how clear and concise you are, and even point out areas for improvement.
That's amazing. It's like having a virtual mock interview with an expert.
Exactly. And it tailors the feedback to the specific company or job you're interested in.
Okay, let's dive into time management. What if they ask, how do you manage your time and prioritize tasks, especially when dealing with multiple shipments and deadlines?
Time management is key in this fast-paced industry.
Right. Things are always moving. The interview guide highlights those organizational skills, the ability to prioritize, and staying focused under pressure.
Exactly.
So you can mention how you create those detailed schedules, break down big tasks into smaller chunks, and use project management tools to stay on top of everything.
Those are great strategies.
And the career guide emphasizes how important communication is, especially when things get stressful or deadlines are tight.
Right. Communication is key.
Keeping everyone informed, delegating effectively, and knowing when to ask for help.
Being a team player.
And showing that resilience. Things don't always go as planned in import-export.
That's for sure.
You want to show the interviewers you can bounce back from setbacks, learn from those mistakes, and adapt to whatever comes your way.
Flexibility is key.
Now, they might even follow up with, describe a time you had to handle a super stressful situation at work.
Yes, the behavioral question.
This is your chance to shine.
Choose a situation that shows you can handle the pressure. Maybe a major shipment was delayed and it could have disrupted a client's production schedule. You explain how you assessed the problem, created a backup plan, kept everyone in the loop, and minimized the impact of that delay.
That's awesome. You really show your ability to think on your feet and solve those complex challenges. Now, before we wrap up this section, let's revisit those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher.
They're so helpful.
Seriously, like having a secret weapon for your interview prep.
That AI feedback feature is a game changer.
It analyzes your responses, gives personalized feedback, and even helps you refine your answers for those tricky behavioral questions.
Exactly.
It's like having a virtual coach who really understands the ins and outs of the hides, skins, and leather products industry.
Absolutely. It can really boost your confidence and help you ace those interviews.
Okay, let's talk about cultural differences. This is huge in import-export. What if they ask, how do you manage those cultural differences and communication challenges when working with people all over the world?
It's all about showing your cultural sensitivity, your ability to communicate effectively, and how you build relationships across cultures.
Right. This industry is all about working with people from different backgrounds. The interview guide suggests talking about how you respect those different customs, maybe even learn some basic phrases in other languages.
Those are great tips.
And being mindful of time zones and cultural differences when you're scheduling meetings.
Absolutely. You want to show that you're comfortable working in that global environment, being sensitive and respectful.
The career guide also mentions that this industry is increasingly reliant on technology to communicate and collaborate.
Which makes sense. Everyone is so connected.
So maybe you could highlight your experience with video conferencing, translation software, and project management tools.
Those are essential tools in today's globalized world.
And then there's that whole idea of building trust and rapport across cultures.
Right. Relationships are everything.
Maybe you could talk about your experience negotiating with international suppliers, managing teams from different cultures, or even participating in cross-cultural training.
Those are great examples.
Now, what if they follow up with, tell me about a time you had to overcome a communication challenge when working with someone from a different culture? That one's a bit tricky.
It is, but it's a chance to really shine. Choose a situation that highlights your ability to adapt your communication style, be understanding, and find that common ground. Maybe you had to negotiate a contract with a supplier from a culture where they're more indirect in their communication style.
Well, that's interesting.
You explain how you adjusted your approach, paid attention to those nonverbal cues, and made sure to clarify anything that was unclear. Or maybe you had to work with a team in a completely different time zone. You talk about how you were mindful of their work hours and communication preferences.
Those are great examples. They really show you can be flexible, adaptable, and respectful of those cultural differences. And the career guy makes a great point. This industry is global.
Absolutely.
Being able to work effectively with people from all different backgrounds is essential for success.
It's what makes this industry so dynamic and exciting. Now, before we move on, let's circle back to those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher one last time.
You know, I love those tools. They're a game changer for anyone prepping for these kinds of interviews.
They can be especially helpful with those behavioral questions, like the one about cultural sensitivity and communication.
Because it's not just about what you say, right?
Yeah.
It's about how you say it and how you come across.
Exactly. The AI feedback feature can analyze your responses and give you specific suggestions for improvement. It's like having a virtual coach who understands the nuances of this industry.
It really is. And that extra level of preparation can make all the difference.
It can definitely boost your confidence and help you shine in that interview.
Okay, let's tackle a question that can sometimes throw people off. What are your greatest strengths and weaknesses? That one can be tough.
It can be. You want to be honest, but you don't want to scare them away.
Exactly. The interview guide suggests picking strengths that are really relevant to the import-export role, like your organizational skills, your attention to detail, your ability to handle pressure, your communication and negotiation skills.
All the things we've been talking about.
Exactly. And when it comes to weaknesses, choose something you're actually working on improving. The key is to frame it positively, show that you're self-aware and want to grow.
So you could say something like, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which means I sometimes spend a little too much time on the details, but I'm aware of that, and I'm working on getting better at managing my time to make sure I meet those deadlines without sacrificing accuracy.
That's a great example, turning a weakness into a positive.
It shows you're proactive and always striving to be better.
And they might even follow up with, tell me about a time you had to overcome a weakness to succeed. That's where you showcase that resilience and problem solving.
Exactly. You could talk about a time you had to delegate tasks even though you like to do everything yourself, or maybe you had to adapt to a last-minute change of plans even though you're a planner.
Those are great examples. It shows you're aware of your weaknesses, but you don't let them define you. You find ways to overcome them. And speaking of overcoming challenges, let's mention those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher again.
They're seriously amazing for interview prep.
They can really help with those behavioral questions like, what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses?
The AI feedback tool can analyze your answers and give you personalized tips for improvement. It's like having an interview coach who understands this specific industry.
Okay, let's talk about career goals. What if they ask, what are your long-term career goals?
That's their way of seeing your ambition and where you see yourself in the future.
The interview guide recommends aligning your goals with the company's values and mission. So do your research, know what they're all about, and show them how you can contribute to their success.
And the career guide mentions that there are lots of different career paths in this industry. You could specialize in a particular area of trade, move into management, even start your own business someday.
There are so many possibilities.
So you could talk about wanting to become a leader in the import-export department, or maybe becoming a real expert in sourcing, compliance, or logistics.
And don't forget to show them you're committed to learning and growing.
Right. Mentioning certifications or training you're interested in shows that you're serious about professional development.
They might even ask, how do you plan to achieve those career goals? That's where you show that proactive side.
Exactly. Talk about seeking out mentors in the company, attending industry events, pursuing additional education. You could even mention being open to new challenges to broaden your skills and experience.
Those are great points. It shows you're not just dreaming big, you're actually taking steps to get there.
And remember, the interviewer's also looking at your fit within the company. Show them that you're enthusiastic about their mission and that your goals align with their vision.
Makes sense. And speaking of aligning with their vision, let's mention those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher again.
They're so helpful for preparing for those career goal questions.
The AI feedback tool can analyze your answers and give you specific suggestions for improvement, right?
Right. It can help you craft a message that really resonates with the interviewers and shows that you're serious about your career.
Okay, let's talk about confidentiality. That's a big one in any job, but especially import-export. What if they ask, how do you handle working with confidential information and sensitive data?
That's all about showing your integrity and discretion.
Especially with all those international trade regulations and sensitive customer data.
The interview guide really emphasizes understanding data privacy regulations and being confidential.
So how do you show them you're trustworthy with that sensitive information?
Explain your process. Mention the procedures you follow, strong passwords, encrypting data, physical security measures.
Oh yeah, like making sure no one can just walk up and see confidential stuff.
Exactly. The career guide mentions that import-export specialists often work with really sensitive information, financial details, customer data, trade secrets.
That's serious stuff.
You want to show them you understand the importance of data security, both legally and ethically.
So you could say something like, I understand confidentiality is a top priority in this role. I follow best practices for data security, like using strong passwords and encrypting sensitive information. And I'm always mindful of those physical security measures. Plus, I'm discreet and would never share confidential information outside of the proper channels.
That shows them you're serious about protecting that information.
And then they might ask, tell me about a time you had to handle confidential information discreetly.
Another chance to highlight that integrity.
Choose a situation that shows you understand the importance of confidentiality and how to be responsible with sensitive information. Maybe you worked on a project that involved accessing confidential customer data. You could explain how you followed the procedures to access and store that data securely, so not just anyone could access it.
Right. You limited access to authorized personnel and made sure it wasn't shared outside the team.
That's a great example. It shows you're trustworthy and reliable.
And the career guide makes a great point. Import-export specialists play a big role in building trust with clients and partners.
It's all about maintaining those strong relationships.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears to communication, which is essential in this role. Imagine they ask, how do you ensure clear communication with suppliers, customers, and everyone else involved, especially with those complex import-export processes?
This industry involves coordinating with so many people: suppliers, manufacturers, shipping companies, customs officials.
It takes a village.
Clear communication is key to keeping everything running smoothly.
Absolutely. The interview guide recommends highlighting your communication skills in all kinds of situations, from emails and phone calls to video conferences and face-to-face meetings.
You've got to be versatile.
Exactly. Show them you can adjust your style depending on the audience and situation.
So you could talk about writing clear and concise emails, having professional phone calls, leading effective meetings, presenting information in a clear and engaging way.
All important skills.
And don't forget active listening,
So crucial.
asking clarifying questions, and making sure everyone understands each other.
Prevents those costly misunderstandings.
Now, what if they follow up with, tell me about a time you had to communicate a complex issue, or maybe deliver some bad news to someone?
That's where you show those diplomacy skills.
You got to be tactful, right?
Exactly. Pick an example that shows how you can communicate honestly and respectfully, even when things are tough. Maybe you had to tell a supplier that their shipment was delayed because of quality issues. You explain how you approached that conversation, kept it calm and clear, listened to their concerns, and worked together to find a solution that minimized the disruption.
That's a great example. It shows you can handle those difficult conversations with professionalism and grace.
And you still maintain those important relationships.
Now, before we wrap up this section, let's circle back to those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher again. They can be so helpful for preparing for these communication-focused questions.
Absolutely. The AI feedback tool is fantastic for refining your responses and making sure you're communicating your ideas effectively.
Imagine you're practicing a question like, how do you ensure clear and effective communication with everyone involved? The AI can analyze your answer and give you specific suggestions.
It's incredible. It's like having a personal communication coach who knows this industry inside and out.
That can make all the difference. Okay, let's talk about staying current in this ever-changing industry. What if they ask, how do you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in the hides, skins, and leather products industry? They're looking for that commitment to continuous learning.
They want to know you're passionate about this industry. And it's a fascinating industry, always evolving. Fashion trends, consumer preferences, new technology, the global economy all play a role. The interview guide suggests highlighting your proactive approach to staying informed.
So how do you stay on top of everything?
Lots of ways. You can subscribe to those industry publications like Leather International or World Leather.
Attend those big trade shows, right?
Yes. Lenny Pell, the All China Leather Exhibition. There are so many.
Follow those organizations and experts on social media.
It's all about being connected. And the career guide makes a great point. Sustainability concerns and ethical sourcing practices are becoming increasingly important in this industry.
So you want to show that you're aware of those issues and you're actively learning about best practices.
Absolutely. And don't just list ways you stay informed. Show them you can connect those trends to the import-export process.
So how have you used that knowledge to find new opportunities, anticipate problems, or change your negotiation strategies?
Exactly. It's about showing them you can think strategically.
Now, what if they follow up with, give me an example of a recent industry trend you've been following and how you think it might impact your work? This is where you get to show off your expertise.
Pick a trend that you find interesting and explain how you've been learning about it and what you think it might mean for the future. Maybe you've been following the rise of vegan leather alternatives. You could talk about how you've been reading articles, attending webinars, and talking to experts to learn more. Then you could discuss how you think this trend might impact the demand for traditional leather products and how you would adjust your sourcing and marketing strategies.
That's a great example. It shows you're a forward thinker. Now, one last time, let's mention those AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher.
I know we keep talking about them, but they're so valuable.
Seriously. especially for these industry-specific questions.
The AI feedback tool can analyze your answers and give you personalized tips to improve your responses.
It's like having an interview coach who knows everything about hides, skins, and leather products.
Exactly. It can help you make a lasting impression and land that dream job.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into becoming an import-export specialist in the hides, skins, and leather products industry.
We've covered a lot of ground, from interview prep to AI-powered tools. Now it's all about sealing the deal and making that amazing first impression.
Okay, so let's say you've nailed those tough interview questions, but how do you leave them wanting more?
It's about being genuinely interested, showing initiative. Remember, it's a two-way street. You're checking them out too.
The interview guide talks about asking those thoughtful questions, not just the basic stuff. What kind of questions would really wow them?
Instead of jumping right into salary and benefits, you can get to that later focus on what you've learned about the industry and the company. Ask about their sourcing strategy for hides and skins. How do they approach sustainability? What's their vision for growth in the global leather market?
The career guide emphasizes ethical sourcing and traceability. Asking about those shows you're aligned with their values. You're thinking big picture.
Exactly. And how you ask is just as important as what you ask. Be engaged, listen carefully, and ask those insightful follow-up questions based on their responses.
Show them you're not just there for any job. You want to contribute to their success.
Absolutely. Now, as the interview wraps up, they'll likely ask, "Do you have any other questions for us?" This is your chance to really stand out.
What's the best way to handle that moment?
Instead of that automatic, "No, I think you covered everything," use it to reinforce your enthusiasm. You could say something like, "I'm really impressed with your commitment to sustainability and ethical sourcing. I'd love to learn more about how I can play a part in those efforts."
That's a great way to connect back to their values. Now the interview's over. What next?
That thank you note, don't underestimate it. It shows professionalism, keeps you on their radar.
Is it enough to just shoot off a quick email saying, "Thanks for your time"?
Make it personal. Mention something specific from the conversation. Did you bond over a shared interest in a particular leather? Or a specific region's sourcing practices?
That's such a good tip. Shows you were listening and genuinely interested. RoleCatcher even has a feature to help with thank you notes, right?
They do. It pulls info from your interview guide and suggests what to include so you don't miss anything important.
Technology at its finest. Okay, so you've aced the interview, sent that thoughtful thank you note, and now, the waiting game. Any final words of advice as our listeners start this exciting career journey?
Remember, this industry hides, skins, leather. It's dynamic, always changing. Embrace that. Be curious. Never stop learning and growing.
And don't forget all those fantastic resources from RoleCatcher. They've got the insights, the tips, the AI tools to give you that extra edge.
We believe in you. Go out there and make it happen.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of import-export specialists. Hope you found it helpful and empowering.
Remember, success isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Stay focused, stay positive, and keep learning.
Until next time, happy interviewing.